All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're here today to talk about relieving muscle stress at the workstation. And what we know is that sitting in front of those computers has created havoc on our spines, our necks, our jaws, our shoulders. We have people who are having pinched nerves, chronic headaches, torn rotator cuffs from the posture of sitting in front of the computer. So we want to go through how to relieve muscle tension at your workstation. We're going to identify some of the key areas of muscular tension and stress in those areas. Talk a little bit about how the spine and the neck is affected by sitting at our workstations in front of our computers. And we're going to workshop a couple exercises as well to give you some take-home in regards to how to offset the tension in that area. So I'd like to identify the areas that most commonly we accumulate tension and stress in these muscles, and then learn how to offset that. The base of the skull, there's a ridge of bone that sits at the bottom of your skull in the back. There's one on either side, and many muscles converge to that area. Some nerves come out of that area, which is why we can have headaches through the back of the neck in the suboccipital region. A lot of tension accumulates in that area, and it's a big driver of muscle tension even forward to the front of the head. And the reason there's a lot of tension that's built up there is the need to look at our computers, but at the same time having poor posture necessitates us to extend our neck right at the very top, so those muscles get shortened constantly, and we sustain that. And the tension that we build up in that area starts to create pain for most of us. It's no different than if you're holding something in your hand, bending your elbow, even though it may be light, and you can hold it there. After a while, if you kept your arm bent holding that light weight, it would start to hurt and create pain from the muscular tension from sustaining that position. So we sit in front of these computers, we're there for, hours, doing our work, being work intensive, and we wind up generating a lot of muscular tension, possibly some pressure on nerves and pain. In our temples, many of us will create tension in here from stress that we just talked about earlier, and the jaw musculature from clenching or grinding, subconsciously many of the times, and we can generate headaches, neck and jaw pain from that. In the upper shoulders, trapezius area, this is the area we'd all love to have somebody come behind us so we're at work and just rub into those shoulders. We build a lot of tension up in that area from being in this position. Mental, emotional stress pulls us up like this. It's very, very common. Having our shoulders forward at a keyboard and a mouse will do that. And get this, she talked about breathing just before. Slow breathing allows us to be relaxed, down low at our belly, but most of us breathe stressfully, which is how? Higher, shallow, and tightening up the muscles at the top of our rib cage. So upper shoulders and the trapezius area. Then between the shoulder blades, this results primarily from being forward with our arms at a keyboard and a mouse, and we start pulling on those muscles between the shoulder blades. And many of us have low back problems, and there's a lot of muscular involvement to that area, particularly in regards to how we sit. And we'll take a moment to go over sitting posture for you guys. So these are the most common areas. When we are in bad posture, which is our head forward, shoulders rounded, and our back rounded forward, we're not sitting over proper centers of gravity. That creates more tension in muscles to hold us upright. More sustained tension in muscles means generally more pain and stiffness. Okay? So the muscles over time will fatigue. And then after that, they can go into spasm, they can create chronic pain, you can create something called trigger points. Trigger points are areas of accumulated stress in the muscles that will generate their own source of pain. Even if you decided to now sit up straight and do a bunch of things right, you may be left with trigger points that are their own focal source of irritation that need possibly some sort of therapeutic intervention. Okay? So when we allow those muscles to fatigue, their next step is to get tight, possibly go into spasm, create trigger points, and so forth. I'd like to teach you for a moment just about the spine. It's made of movable vertebrae, 24 of them up and down the spine. Whenever there are joints, it means the body wants those areas to move. Okay? So never think that we should be stiff, or if something is aching or hurting us, that we should not do anything and keep it still. Maybe if it's inflamed, you maybe need to see a doctor. But for most problems, we need to keep things moving. Okay? And especially true of the spine. So the exercises we're going to give you and talk about in a moment, it's designed to offset the tension in those areas that we just identified earlier. So the exercises, do they need to be done just once a day at 5 o'clock after you've trashed the muscles all day? Or should they be done intermittently through the day so we don't allow the accumulation of that tension and that burden to hit us so hard as we go through the day later on? We want to be moving throughout the day. And movement's critical. If any of you ever had or have had a family member break an arm, let's say, and they had to wear a cast that went past the elbow where the joint could not move. Right? And then that cast is taken off, whether it's 4, 6, 8 weeks later. When it's taken off, what does the arm look like? How does it feel? And what are you capable of with it? Right? It's thinner. Why? Because there's atrophy. There's cell breakdown and death of muscle, of the skin. The skin is flaky. The joint capsule underneath, the ligaments around the joint are tight and stiff and weakened. The cast comes off and the arm still kind of stays like that till we get things moving again. The body wants and needs movement. Okay, we're not wearing casts at our workstation, but we certainly sit there and don't move for extended periods of time in positions nonetheless that are not good, not conducive to the health of our spine. Even if you're sitting up straight and you're doing a good job at all that, you still need to move. So we're going to go through these exercises, and they're very important. I call it resetting the muscles, where you change the tension and the length. So if we were holding something in this hand and it started to ache here, would you just bear and grin it and just keep on holding it? Or what would you do? Switch hands. And what would you do with this arm? Would you keep the elbow bent? What would you do? You stretch it out. You want to change the tension in the joint, the tension in the muscle. That's hooked up neurologically. So you change some things about it, and then you help to, I call it, reset the muscles. You're good to go for a little bit longer. And that's what we want to do with these specific exercises right now in the key areas that we've identified, so the tension doesn't keep on building up. Likewise, if you're holding that object and you couldn't use the other arm and you kept on holding it, you can get to a point, so much so you can create a tendinitis and some chronic pain in that area. Parents deal with this a lot when they're holding a newborn. They hold it so much they start developing tendinitis in some of the flexor tendons and the tendons around the elbow and the wrist possibly. So move it around, switch it up, change the tension in the muscles, give the joints and the muscles what they want, be specific so you can help the tension in those areas. So you have some exercise, and when we're done on the way out, my partner Lisa has some handouts with the exercises, specifically pictorials of them, to help you guys out, okay? Neck retraction is nothing more. Now, these exercises are basically opposing all the postural faults that we create when we sit, so it's very specific. Neck retraction is simply the head is like this in front of that computer. What do we want to do? Get it back into here, okay? Get it back into here. The ear should be over our shoulder. That's good center of gravity alignment. The further it goes out, the more tension is on muscles, ligaments, discs, possibly nerves. So neck retraction is bringing the head over the shoulders, and then a little bit more, like you're trying to create a double chin, right? And you push back a little bit. And you may even feel, wow, it's tighter on one side than the other. That's because there's a little more pull there. But as you work on that, you will actually free up some of the tension. This is kind of like straightening that arm and stretching it out for this area right here. Okay? So we're back in. We don't do this. The chin is in and pushed back to lengthen the back of the neck. Postural correction, Dr. Brugger was from the 20th century. He's a medical doctor that did physical medicine, and he spoke a lot about this. They named this exercise after him in the physical medicine world, but it's offsetting the postural stress from sitting. So what has to happen is, well, you know what, I will sit down. Are we good with me sitting? To do this one, if you guys want to participate for a moment, you sit at the edge of your chair, but just be careful. Okay? And we sit up straight with a little neck retraction. We bring our arms down to our side. Don't let our shoulders round forward. We reach down. And as we reach down, we also rotate our arms at the shoulder, so the palms now will start facing forward. If you're pretty flexible, you even get them to face outward a little bit. But the shoulders have to stay down. Don't allow them to pop up. What we're doing is we're offsetting the tension in here from being rounded. We're activating the muscles between our shoulder blades that are always pulling so hard. This one here we already talked about to help the tension here. What's the reaching down? it's offsetting the tension in the muscles up here. When I reach down, I'm activating the opposing muscle group. So it allows for relaxation there. Okay? And by the way, sitting posture, I told you I would mention that. When we sit down in a chair, we all like to have a good chair, but the reality is you can sit healthfully with good posture in a folding chair, and you can also slouch in a $2,000 ergonomically perfect chair. It's all up to you in regard to what you do with your body, but we want our butt to be way back on that seat pan so that the back of the chair holds us up and the natural curves of our lower back are supported. If we put our butt in the middle and then sit back, we lose the natural curve in our back. It starts to strain, slowly and insidiously, but it starts to strain the discs and the muscles in our lower back. Okay? So get way back on the seat pan.